Hello everyone, I'm here to show you how you can highlight duplicates in your Google spreadsheet. So I have here a simple Google spreadsheet. I've already populated it with a random name. This is from A2 to A11 and I have a header in A1. So the first question to ask is, how do we find out if there's a duplicate in our list? So the answer to that is we check for that instance. So if there's more than one instance of that value, then we consider that as a duplicate. So how do we do that in Google Spreadsheets? So we're gonna be using the COUNTIF function in Google Spreadsheet. So COUNTIF has two parameters. The first parameter would be the range. So in our case, that's gonna be A2 to A15. I added additional rows just so we can play around with it. So right now we're using a relative range, meaning this, once we've entered this in row 2, then it's going to be A2 to A15. If we copy the same formula and paste it to row 3, the range is going to change from A2, it will be A3 to A16, and that's not what we want. What we want is to have A2 to A15 fixed, and that's why we need an absolute value. To have an absolute value, we press F4 in our keyword, and your range is gonna have a $sign, which signifies that this is now an absolute. Even if you copy this formula, that range is not gonna change. So the next parameter is the keyword that we're gonna be looking for in that in the list, and in our case it's gonna be A2 since we're currently in the second row of the sheet. And then click enter, and then you're gonna have an instance of 1, meaning it's unique, it's not a duplicate. Now if we copy this and then paste it until, let's say, 15, then you can see that everything is unique. We have 0 here because really there's no value in it. But if you look at the formula, as you can see, the range from A2 to A15 doesn't change. However, the keyword row, which is starting from A2, A3, A4, A5, A6, it's actually changing. So this is a relative position. So now if we say, we put Trisha in the name, you can see now that we have a count of 2. So this is now considered as a duplicate. So you may ask, well, how do we highlight this? Then that's our next thing. We can highlight this using conditional formatting. So first, for us to be able to do this, we need to copy the formula that we already have. Next, we go to format. You first go to the A2 because this is what we want to highlight, the column A. Go to format, conditional formatting, and then in here change A2 to A15, and then the format cell would be custom formula. In here we enter the formula that we've created. Now this has to be conditional. It's conditional formatting in the first place, right? So it has to have a condition, and so a simple count is not considered as a condition. It's just a simple value, it's just a count. So for us to have this conditional, let's put the count must be greater than 1 to make it a duplicate, or to have it considered as duplicate. Now in this case we're just going to use a default coloring, but you can change the color if you want of the highlight. But in our example we're just going to use the default. Then click done. As you can see, we already have 2 highlights. Now if we go here and say do 1, you now have 4 highlights. What if we want, let's say, Perry? What happened? I mean, there's no highlight, there's no count. And the reason for this is, if you look at our formula, we're specifying that the range of the list is from A2 to A15. This is A2 until A15. but we write the name Perry in A16, which of course is outside the bounds of the list that we've specified. That's the reason why Perry in row 16 was not highlighted. So to change that, we simply go to the conditional formula. In here, let's do this. Instead of changing it to A15, you can actually have this to change to A16. A16, and you're good. You're gonna already be, be able to have it work. So you now have Perry here. The thing is, what if I put it in row 19? Let's say Beverly. Then again, it's not going to be highlighted. And you do not want to highlight or make some changes every time. So if you know you're going to put all the names in column A, then it's better to have the whole column formatted so that every time you add the new name, then it's going to be included in the checking of the duplicate. So how do we do this? Again, we go back to conditional formatting. Select the any row. So in our case, maybe Ramona. Then format for as long as it's in column A, and then go to conditional formatting. What's important here is two things. Number one, the range. Let's change it to AA. This signifies that we start from the very beginning up to the last entry. However, note that we have a header here in A1, which is the header of name, and we do not want that included in our checking of duplicates. So we want to start at A2, and so we start at A2 up to the last entry. We also have here our formula. So again, we start at A2 up to A, and then click done, and you can close the conditional formatting, and we're good. You could remove the column B, you no longer need that. So let's say in row 70 or maybe 60 or maybe 63, Tricia. You can see it's highlighted, and if you go up, Tricia is also highlighted. Let's say Pedro. Let's say 92. Pedro is highlighted. Pedro is also highlighted in row 6. So this is how you create or you highlight duplicate objects simply using a Google Sheet scripts to make it easier for you to identify duplicate values. I hope this is helpful, and thank you for watching.